In this video will be shown how to activate the personal security module, to let persons work on a defined location for a defined time. If the specified time is exceeded, MobiCall will launch an alarm which can also be repeated in a defined time. Requirements: here are WebTMS, MobiCall 8.3.3 with all latest modules and the possibility to do phone calls from into the MobiCall. First, define a telephony entry to trigger the module. For this, open up the NewVoice Alarm Central from the desktop and change to the Settings tab Incoming Calls. In the top bar, select Incoming Calls and click on New Entry Number. Now select the number you want to use for activating the personal security. This number will be the one needed to be dialed to activate, change or deactivate the personal security. Now start to define your incoming entry by a double click on it. First drop-down menu is to select the entry you want to define. Second option is a text field to give a name for the DDI. On the drop-down menu, type change to special functions, voice recording. With the fields below can be set a schedule plan for this entry, a whitelist or a password. Define this as needed or keep it on default. Now in the settings below, change the checkbox to start NVE program and select the module NVA_pers_security.NVE and press the apply button followed by the OK button. Now that the telephony entry has been defined, also the personal security needs to be defined. First is to generate the configuration file for the personal security. For this, two options are possible. First is to dial into the currently added entry. The module will start up for the first time and the ini file will be created. Second option is to start the command window from desktop and start the module one time by hand. Do this by entering the following in the command window: nvex_nva.pers_security.nve. By doing this, the module will be started one time and the configuration file will be created. Now go to d:\nvt\ini files and open up the nva.pers_security_ini file. Here is defined how the personal security module should handle an incoming call. On the section Configure the global settings, first is to activate the console logging. So everything that happens on call of this module will be written in the log file. Second setting is to activate the extended logging. Activate to see more details in the log file, but not as much as with console logging. Don't forget to only turn on console or extended logging for error tracing. Deactivate when the system is working again properly, since a console or an extended log can take very much storage on the MobiCall drive. Third setting is the maximum retries on a call, default set to 2. Fourth setting is the length of the PIN code, default is 4. Fifth setting is to define the length of the location ID. The location ID must be entered via DTMF on the phone. When more than 100 locations are in use, then the length 3 is minimum. Sixth setting is to define which entry should be launched on no CLI, to launch another telephony entry when the caller sends no CLI. Seventh setting is to define which entry should be launched on a PIN error. When the user enters the wrong PIN code, another entry can be launched with an alarm behind as example. Eighth setting is to check for the number of persons. Once active, MobiCall will ask how many persons are working with you. This will also be written in the task management system. Ninth setting is to define how often MobiCall tries to recall the worker to complete the registration. 10th setting is to delay the callback. After registration, MobiCall calls the worker on his number to confirm that he can start to work now. 11th setting is a regular expression to receive the CLI number of the caller. If the number is not received or recognized, then MobiCall can't start a callback. 12th and last setting in the config section is to define the seconds before the callback. This time will be waited after the hang-up of the registration to call the worker back and confirm his work start. Next settings are for the task management system. Most of the settings here can be kept on default. It must be sure that the task management areas are existing and having the same name than defined here in the ini file. Check that the area for the locations has the same name as in the parameter location area name equals stations by default. Check that the task management area for the events is defined as in the configuration file parameter events area name equals events by default. Save your INI file and open up the NewVoice Task Management System. For this, open up a browser. Firefox or Google Chrome are recommended. Open up the URL localhost or the IP address of the MobiCall server. Log in with your credentials or use the administrator account of the web interface. On the left side, change to administration and open up the task management settings. Here needs to be defined the areas for the personal security events and the locations. It does not matter if you use report and task boards, rapid response systems or enhanced app logs. Change to manage areas and click on add area for the events area. Give the same name as given in the configuration file. Everything can be kept as it is by default since changes can be made afterwards also. The only thing what is recommended here is to set the priority color for high and very high to red for a quick view if the worker is over his due time. Also for this it is recommended to activate the field due timestamp from the available fields row. Press on save when done. Do the same for the locations area stations. On the TMS configuration side, change to area profile settings and activate the newly created areas by activating the checkboxes beside and press on save at the bottom. Now that the areas exist, it is needed to activate an escalation when the worker is over his given due time. For this, open up the NewVoice line monitor from the desktop. In the left top corner, click on System followed by Auto Start. Now the module what supervises the tasks needs to be entered. For this, press on the Add button at the right side and enter the module nvtaskEventHandler.x with the INI file parameter as shown. After adding, select the newly added entry and click on the Start button at the right side of the page. Now that the task event handler has been started for the first time, the configuration file has been created. Open up the Windows Explorer and switch to d:/nvt/ini files and search for the nvtaskEventHandler.ini configuration file. In this configuration file is set what should happen with the task after reaching due time. In the section config can be activated the extended logging. For this, activate the parameter write extended logs equals 1. With the second setting is defined how many task event handler are existing. Now start to define the task event handler as needed for the escalation when the worker is reaching his due time. Take the already existing due time task in area events handler and define the following parameters. On task area ID must be given the name of the area in the ticket management system. Change the parameter task event type from 1 to 3, since the type 3 stands for on due time. Set the parameter only process for substatus to 1 and 2 as shown in the video. With the parameter start alarm is defined which alarm should launch in case of due time reached. With the parameter do not restart alarm for min is given how long the alarm should not start again when there is no update from the worker. With the parameter update task substatus to is defined which substatus the task is updated in case of due time reached. With the parameter update priority to set to 9 for status escalated, to show the message in the ticket management system in red. With the next parameter is given the module that should start on due time. It may be that this module is not installed with MobiCall. If so, contact NewVoice support. On the parameter start module on event fill in the module, called NVA_pers_security_ on due time. NVE. Save the nvtaskEventHandler configuration file and restart the nvtaskEventHandler by opening up the NewVoice line monitor. In the right top corner select System followed by a click on Autostart. Now in the Autostart settings select the NV-Task Event Handler and press the Restart button on the right side. Now that everything is set up properly, test your scenario if you can log into the system by calling your defined DDI. If the task is created and the due time is written, wait for it to exceed. If the defined alarm is started and the task is turning red because of high priority, everything is set up properly. If something should not work as expected, contact NewVoice support.